Welcome to the Breakin Broncos podcast. I am your host, Dan Wetstein. Unfortunately, my co-host is running a little late, but again, he will be here. I apologize that he'll be running a few minutes late, but he's on his way home. He'll be on here shortly. But we're gonna go ahead and get started. That way, y'all don't have to wait for us, and it's the other way around. But today, obviously, no games to talk about, but we are at the beginning of the offseason, so we still have plenty to talk about. People, like I said last week, we are not done. Just because the season is over does not mean that Breaking Broncos is over. The NFL is a 24/7, 365 news cycle, so we are here to stay. We're going nowhere. So always Monday, 2 to 3 p.m. Come and check us out. The Answer is 42 Media Network, Bird Gang Sports Network. Please make sure you go like, subscribe. All the links are down in the description. So nice and easy for you. Just click all the apps that you already have or any that you might want to get in the future. Make sure you go to our social feed, give us a follow, hit up Bird Gang, my boy Randall and all his peoples. Make sure you show them some love for giving us love and having us on their channel. But today, like I said, all off season talk, we're going to be talking about how legal challenges are done. Broncos look to be getting sold. Reports are that Dan Quinn is the leading head coach candidate. We'll discuss whether or not that's a good thing. Cowboys being eliminated now. Quinn and Moore can be interviewed. We'll go into depth on that. Out of the confirmed candidates, we're going to talk about who is our favorite and who is the most likely to be hired. PFF graded the top 25 rookies. There are two Broncos on that list. We're going to discuss who they are, why they are, and whether or not they are where they should be. And then to cap it all off, we got some interesting reports out of Seattle that we're going to break down and tell you what that might mean for your Denver Broncos. So, as always, let's go ahead and just jump on in. I don't have your sunshine and rainbows here today yet. Again, he will be here. Dylan's just running a few minutes late for those of you that might be jumping in now. But let's go ahead and jump into this here. As I stated, first off, all legal challenges have been quashed by the Denver Broncos. All the lawsuits by the Bolin children, the lawsuits by the Kaiser family of the late previous owner, Edgar Kaiser, who were suing on the premise that Bolin made a legal pact with the Kaiser family that if the Broncos were ever sold, the Kaiser family would have right of first refusal, and this kind of threw a cog into things. But a local judge here in Colorado went ahead and dismissed that case a few days ago. So all legal ramifications have been cleared. Broncos are open for business and looking to be sold. A new report that makes things a little bit more interesting is from Nine News' Mike Kliss. Again, this is Kliss, so take things with a grain of salt. He's usually plugged in, but he is a bit of a tool, so sometimes things can go a little bit left. Um, but as far as being sold, initially it was just, oh, a bunch of groups are going to make their bids, and then, you know, whoever the Broncos decide they want to buy, or the trust, I should say, decides who they want to buy, the team would go ahead and sell it to that person. Well, according to Kliss and a legal expert that he spoke with, the Broncos trust has a fiduciary responsibility to the trustees, which are the Bolin children and Bolin's brother John, or not John, or yeah, it is John. Sorry, yeah, John Bolin. Um, they must get them, which essentially just means that they must get them by all legal ramifications the highest price possible. With that being the case, the most likely avenue of selling the team would be through an auction. What this means is that the highest bid wins, as in any other auction, and as long as the 31 other owners decide that they want that person to be an owner, essentially, the Broncos trust has absolutely no say in whether or not that group or person gets to buy the team. So it kind of takes away some of the freedom and uh, responsibility of the Broncos trust. They don't really have a say in who's going to become the owner at that point, which is something that Ellis said that they wanted. They wanted to make sure that it was not just a rich person essentially, but the right rich person to go ahead and carry on the Bolin legacy and the winning culture that he fostered here in Denver. So, with that being said, I mean, it's a lot of legal jargon. Essentially, what that means is that unlike most situations where a team is sold, where the previous owner has a say in who gets to buy it, like say they just don't like the person, or they don't believe that they're an honest actor that's going to put their best foot forward, they can say no. In this case, if the person that wins the auction is approved by the other 31 owners, it doesn't matter whether or not the trustees or the Bolin children or anybody else in Broncos country likes that person or wants them to be the owner. If they're approved, they're the owner, and nothing else can be done. And the craziest part about this, the last time that the team was sold was in 2018. The Carolina Panthers sold for a little bit over $2.25 billion. The Broncos are set to absolutely smash that record. That was the largest price tag on a single um, sports team of any kind in any league ever to be sold. Well, the Broncos are currently valued at 3.8 million billion. Sorry, that was a big mistake. Billion with a B dollars. That's a lot more than the 2.25, and that is not what it is going to be sold at. At the very least, this team will be sold for at least $4 billion. This is why Peyton Manning and John Elway are in competing groups that are trying to buy the team instead of them trying to buy it outright. Because even though both of them are extremely rich, and especially Peyton Manning, who came in at the perfect time when quarterback contracts just absolutely exploded, endorsements exploded, and he made a little over 400 million in his career. Again, very large amount of money, not knocking the man at all, but the type of rich you have to be to buy an NFL franchise is a different type of rich. And that's why within the eight ownership possibilities, um, only two of them include ownership groups that include an ex player. All the rest of the speculated potential owners are multi billionaires. We're talking Jeff Bezos, the owner of Amazon, and things of that nature. Like everybody else outside of the Manning and Elway camps, which even they have a couple of billionaires within them that are spreading the wealth. There's other ones that can just buy it outright. Like I said, like Jeff Bezos. The thing about Jeff Bezos is that there's really conflicting reports. I know I've talked a lot about Jeff Bezos wanting to own a team. I've talked a lot about him being probably the front runner if he wants to buy. But there's conflicting reports. In the summer, Jeff Bezos was the number one guy when it came to potentially buying the Broncos. Then in October, I believe it was Peter King sent out a report that he was not interested in buying any sports team, let alone the Denver Broncos. And then in December, you had just about every single local media outlet and a couple of nationals and some other smaller ones that have pinned Jeff Bezos as the most likely owner of the Broncos. So at this point, it seems to be a lot of speculation outside of the confirmations of Elway being in one group and Manning being in another group. There's really no confirmed potential owner or anything. Now there has been reports that the trust vetted out six different, essentially investment bankers, which are essentially the middleman between the rich people and the team and the NFL. They just kind of show that the client that they have has enough money to buy the team, operate the team, and not have any issues when it comes to things like payroll and things of that nature. When you're getting into a multi-billion-dollar business like the NFL, these are things that have to be done. These are things that have to be vetted. And honestly, if you've forgotten, there's been plenty of examples, especially recently, of other leagues getting into trouble by not vetting out the potential buyer fully enough. Example is the Los Angeles Dodgers before Magic Johnson and his group bought them. It was an absolute mess. It was sold to a parking lot magnet. Like literally, the guy's entire business model was buying land, building parking lots, and charging people to park in his parking garages in Los Angeles, which I'm sure is a very lucrative business. But obviously, it wasn't lucrative enough because he ended up getting forced out of the league because he could not pay his players or his personnel because he was broke. He lied about his finances. He was able to uh, fudge documents enough to fool Major League Baseball. So these, like I said, these things have to happen. It also happened in the NHL. The Arizona Coyotes were sold to a guy without being vetted properly. He ended up not having the money he said he did, was unable to make payments to anything, and they're still going through it now, even after the league took over the team and they failed in Phoenix, sold the team, and now it's looking like they sold it to another possibly broke rich man who just about got foreclosed on. How about that? A professional sports league almost had the building that they play in foreclosed on because the owner wasn't making his payment. Like that stuff right there is absolutely insane to me. That is. And all right, Trey, I appreciate you being in here, bro. Appreciate the like. Still waiting on my guy Dylan. He should be here shortly. But getting back to it, um, there is a pretty decent list of potential buyers for the Denver Broncos. Again, take these with a grain of salt. These most of these were reported first sometime in the summer, some around June or July at most outlets, um, and some people have changed it a little bit, but this is pretty much what it's going to look like with people that are not only interested but capable of making the buy. Out of these eight candidates, first up is Mark Stevens. He is a venture capitalist and the minority owner of the Golden State Warriors. Um, and while working for Sequoia Capital, he was part of the key decisions to invest in companies including Google and YouTube, which is where he made his billions. He is currently worth 4.6 billion, so more than likely he would have to get into it an ownership group. This would be my assumption is he is one of the billionaires in either Elway or Manning's group that they're putting together. Again, that's just an assumption, speculation. I don't have any sources or anything to tell me otherwise, but that just would make sense because again, Broncos are going to get sold for at least 4 billion. I don't see any billionaire liquidating all of his assets just to buy a team. So most likely he's going to be part of an ownership group. Next up is Charlie Ergen. He is 68 years old. He is the co-founder and chairman of Dish Network and EchoStar. He is currently worth 11.9 billion. So technically, he could buy the team outright, but again, billionaires are usually smart with their money. Not always, but again, usually they're smart with their money. So I would assume he would be part of an ownership group. Again, either Elway or Manning, probably in that group. So that way he's not getting rid of half of his net worth essentially just to buy a team. Next up at six, we have Steve Ballmer, age 65. He is the former CEO of Microsoft and owns the Los Angeles Clippers, which he is. I will definitely say he has went all in. The man is absolutely loaded. He's worth 81.6 billion, so he could easily pull that 4 billion out of his pocket and slap it over and be the primary owner, just like he is in Los Angeles with the Clippers. He'd be a lot like Stan Kroenke in Denver, where he owns teams in Denver and LA. For those of you that don't know, Stan Kroenke is the owner of the Colorado Avalanche and Denver Nuggets, as well as the Los Angeles Rams. So it'd be kind of The opposite, Palmer would own the Clippers basketball team in LA and then a football team in Denver. But it's possible. Again, the NFL used to be really opposed to owners that own multiple teams. Stan Kroenke was really the first person to do so because of his net worth as well as his wife's net worth. Because again, if you don't know, Stan Kroenke is married to the heiress of the Walmart fortune, so he's already a billionaire on his own. And then his wife's a multi billionaire. That's why the NFL was like, you know what? They got the longest pockets ever. Who cares? Let him come in. I think Steve Ballmer would fall under that. He's got giant pockets. NFL ownership always loves their rich white guys. He fits the bill perfectly. Next up, number 5, we have Larry Ellison. He is age 76. He is the co-founder, executive chairman, and CTO of Oracle Corporation. He has expressed interest in buying several sports teams in the past, including the Niners. He was in on them, and he is worth 106.8 billion. Another one of those guys. He owns an island in the chain of Hawaii Islands. That's how rich this man is. He owns a Hawaiian island. The whole island is his, and still has 106.8 billion. Another guy NFL would be happy to have with his pockets injecting cash into the league and into the Broncos. Again, long pockets. Broncos would never have to worry about whether or not they have cash on hand for signing bonuses and things of that for free agents and re-signing their own guys, etc. Next up is the name you're going to recognize, at least the last name you're going to recognize. It is Howard Graham Buffett. Yes, that Buffett. This is one of the sons of Warren Buffett. He is actually the middle child, so he is the Malcolm in the middle. He is a huge football fan, just like his dad. Um, so again, another one of those multi billionaires. There's rumors floating around the entire Buffett family outside of the father. Um, any of this guy's siblings, him, any one of them, just with their own personal fortune, could buy the Broncos outright and still have change left over. So next is a bit of a bit of an outlier. It's a possibility, but not very likely, and that is members of the Bolin family. The reason I bring this up is because even though the team is being sold, that does not mean that that it has to leave the Bolin family. The cleanest way would have been the way that Bolin wanted it, which is one of his kids steps up, shows that they belong, and goes ahead and gets the leading role. But I'm going to stop here for just a second because it is time to add my guy, Dylan Miles. Appreciate you finally showing up, my dude.
I just sent you another text.
I got you. Yeah, no, I was just in the middle of my thing. How I don't know how much of the ownership talk you got, but I am just on.
I got here from the Kroenke talk.
The Kroenke talk. Okay, so you got most of it. Um, but as I was just saying, this last one is a bit of an interesting one. Members of the
Mullins.
Bolin family,
Yeah.
potentially buying out the other kids at a acceptable rate would keep it in the family. But again, with it being
Not
a
sure I
trust,
want that.
I'm not sure I want it either. And then also, as I discussed earlier, there is a report that because the team is in a trust, they have a fiduciary responsibility to get the highest price possible. With that being the case, there's a lot of greedy kids in the Bolin family. It's been made obvious
I
over the
would
last
assume
couple
all
of
of them
years.
except one.
Right, yeah. The only one I haven't heard anything about being greedy is Brittany. She seems to be the only one that was willing to actually put in the work instead
And
of
she
just
went
being
to
I.
school for business, I believe.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
went down the line.
Yeah, she went and worked at the NFL headquarters under
Mm-hmm.
Roger Goodell. She has been working in the front office of the Broncos since 2016, I believe,
I think
doing
so.
different roles and things of that nature in the front office, working directly with John Elway, directly with Joe Ellis, and essentially learning all of the ropes, everything you need to know to be an owner. she has been doing for the last like 4 to 6 years on top of her school. And she didn't go to any schools. Like these are really rich people, so she went to places like Georgetown and things of that nature to get these degrees. It's not
Yeah,
like she went to the state community college or something like that. She
but
went
she
and she put in the
she
work.
got it done right though. Going to those schools,
Exactly. Exactly. Because I mean, you're going to work with a multi-billion-dollar company.
and
You
you have the
can't just
money to go there. It's not like you're not going to go there if you have the money.
right. Yeah, Daddy went off and paid tuition up front. Maybe bought a new library or something to get them in. Who knows? That's what rich people do. They put their names on buildings and get their kids into school. It's just how it works. It's
I mean, that's half
why
of
it's called
Yale.
nepotism. That's the majority of every Ivy League school.
Yeah,
Yale, Harvard, Princeton, you name it, those generational uh, families. I mean, there's literally families that date back to the beginning of the schools, to the beginning of America, that have been going to these schools over and over, just one after the other. Not because they're smart, I mean, not saying that they're not all smart. I don't want to say
yeah.
that, but a lot of them they get into like, for example, our ex-president who got into Waldorf. You really think that this man went and got a master's because he had good grades? If he had good grades, why is he hiding them? It was because daddy bought a new library. That's just how it works.
I
That's
wish
why
my
it
dad
got
could buy me a library.
right. I mean, that's why things got crazy with those celebrities like Aunt Becky from Full House and all of them. That
Mhm.
they went about it the wrong way. If they would have went and just bought a library, nothing would have happened. But because they went and they bribed the coaches, they broke NCAA rules and they got in trouble. If they'd have just went and, like I said, bought a library, bought a new law school wing, or
New
bought some
dorm.
books, yeah, new dorm, something like that, their kids would have got in and nobody would have said a single thing. But because they went about it a shady way, that's why they got in trouble.
That story's still amazing to me.
It really is. I still can't get over that some rich people actually went to jail for doing something wrong. Like that's the thing that got me. Like the whole story and everything's funny, but it boils down to rich people got in trouble for I think the first time in American history. That's what was
Hey, if
interesting to
I'm
me.
rich, I should be able to buy my way out of it. Let's be honest.
Right. But getting back to ownership talk, the next one up on the list is again Jeff Bezos. As I said earlier, there has been conflicting reports in all throughout the summer, pretty much the last couple of years. The Broncos have been being talked about being sold. Jeff Bezos has been at the top of the list for many a reasons. Not none of the least being the fact that he has shown up in league circles. Like he's shown up at owners only dinners. Why is some dude that's not in the league at an owners only dinner if he's not looking to be an owner?
What makes that
So things
funnier
like that.
though is that he said he wasn't interested.
Right. That's what I'm saying. There's also the Peter King reports that
Yeah.
say that he's not interested, and then again, and that those came in October. That was up to October of 2021, and then in December of 2021, all of a sudden you have a bunch of new reports that Jeff Bezos might be interested. So it again, like I said earlier, it's completely speculation at this point. Um, but I mean, with it going back and forth, where there's smoke, there's fire. Usually, I want to say that he's probably going to be in on it, but I'm not as confident as I once was. Especially earlier this year when I kept pumping like, Jeff Bezos is going to be our next owner. That was done a little bit of tongue in cheek, but I was a little bit serious at the same time because I just figured he's got the deepest pockets. Nobody can outbid him. If he wants the
He'll
Broncos
get
are his.
him. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just plain and simple. If he wants them, they're his.
And
The
my
NFL wants
opinion,
him in the circle,
yeah.
so
My opinion has changed over him about being an owner over the past 6 months, I'd say. Yeah, at the beginning, because all the Amazon controversy stuff with the Amazon warehouses and all that. That place is not a nice place to be. Not a nice place to be. You run in
I
one of those
agree.
robots, you're gonna get packed into a box, or you
Right?
take a 2-second break, you're fired.
Better have a bottle on hand.
Yeah, but it's like sitting there, like but it's still the most like, I guess you could say, reliable person to buy the team. And he's a
Yeah, I mean,
great businessman, so it's one of those things where I see those bad sides and I see the man knew how to run and grow business. Two of them.
The man decided that he was going to make bookstores online in a garage, and now he is the wealthiest man in the world with a net worth now of $202 billion.
And what are the Broncos going at right now? 5 bill? 3 bill?
Uh, well, they're valued at 3.8 billion, but they will sell for at minimum $4 billion. Now, if they go into an auction, like Cliff reported after talking to a legal expert for them being in the trust, and their fiduciary responsibility to get the most money possible. If it goes into an auction, I would not be surprised at a $5 billion price tag
No,
when
I would
all
not be
is said
surprised.
and done. You know,
And
but at
that's
the
pocket
at the
change, man.
least
That's like $5. You'll just pull out the
for
checkbook and
him,
just write it up.
yes, for him, exactly. For him and a couple of other guys that I discussed on here, like Howard Graham Buffett or one of his siblings, Larry Ellison, the executive chairman and CTO of Oracle, the creators of Adobe and all that. Ballmer, the former CEO of Microsoft, owner of the LA Clippers.
Yeah.
Um, Charlie Ergen, he would probably have to be part of a trust.
And and looking at those ownership groups, like the only articles I've seen over ownership is about the John Elway group and the Peyton Manning group. Sure,
Yes.
one of those to buy it would be amazing, right? I wouldn't love to see John Elway as a part of an ownership as much as I would like to see Peyton Manning.
I
But
think I
looking
would
at it,
rather have Manning.
yeah,
Manning just seems to be more of the guy willing to admit when he makes a mistake. Elway just seems to be that guy. He's going to barrel forward 110%. And if he makes a mistake, oh well, he's just moving right along. He won't go back and fix it. So that's something that's really been pronounced as a GM.
and let
Um,
John Elway stay at his job where he's at right now.
I'm not mad. I wouldn't be mad if you kept him as a president and
Yeah,
CEO of football operations. He's
he's
a
been doing a
football
great job. He
guy.
did a great job this year. He stayed out of the
Yeah,
media for the most part.
yeah, yeah. He did his job, is what he is now. Which is the guy that does the work behind the scenes. He doesn't have to be out front, and he's getting older. Like I
Yeah.
know he's got to be ready for retirement at this point. I mean, the guy's in his 70s now.
No,
Like
I
he's
think he's 60s.
yeah, 60s, whatever. Either
I'm
way,
looking it up.
getting old. There you go. There you go. Yeah, either way, 60s, 70s, either way, he's all
61.
61. There you go.
Wow. I
So
thought he was a bit older.
I thought so too. There you go. That's what you get for assuming, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd rather see Peyton because again, not only that, like a lot of these guys, like they're old, man. What are we gonna do in 10, 15, maybe 20 years? Is this gonna happen again?
Sell the team
Um,
again.
right, exactly. So and then we go through this whole rigmarole again. Um, why not go get yourself Peyton Manning? I know he's not the main owner, but he can be the face of the franchise
See,
for the
that's
next
what I was
30,
saying.
40 years.
I was telling that to my
Yeah.
parents when that popped up. It was like, it's not like he's going to be the main owner. He's going to have a share in it. He's not going to put the most money into it.
He's going to be a very small minority owner because
Yeah,
even though,
but you can give
go
him
ahead.
the face. You can give him the face of the franchise. He can be out there, he can make those moves that you need to make, right? But he's not going to be behind the scenes. He's not really going to be that. That's
No,
where the
no,
group's
he's
going to
not
come
really
in.
going to have. Yeah, he's not going to have enough power to really change it. He's going to be
Unless
just
these
like
guys are
Derek
like, hey,
Jeter.
yeah, unless these guys are like, hey, be in the group, right? We're going to make this group and we'll give you free reign of ownership as long as we get they get their share, they get their part. Unless that happens, which I'm not sure would, that's the only way we'd see that of him being the main owner of the team.
Right, as like I pointed out earlier, even though Peyton Manning did absolutely great for himself, the man's rich beyond his wildest dreams. He's got generational wealth. Not knocking the man at all. I know that people, when I say this, they seem to take it as an offense, like I'm saying something bad. The man's still worth $400 million, but there's a different type of rich that's required for an ownership stake in an NFL team. The man's worth $400 million if he sells every single thing in his life, and that's maybe $400 million, might be less, depending on how he liquidates his assets and what is sold at what price.
Yeah.
There's no way for this man to become a majority owner. His full net worth is just a fraction of what this team is worth before being sold. Again, he's worth 400 million. Broncos 3.8 billion. It's a different level. He doesn't even have enough money to make a majority stake in the
Mm-hmm.
team to where he'll have voting
Yeah, even if he put
ability.
all of his money down.
Yeah, all of it would not make him a majority owner. And again, this is not a dumb man. It's like I explained earlier about some of the earlier candidates, like Mark Stevens, who again is worth 4.6 billion. But again, no billionaire is dumb enough with their money to
Yeah.
sell everything and spend it all on a usually profitless professional sports
So
team.
is Kroenke's wife like available to buy an NFL team?
I mean, technically she could be, but I
Because she
don't
owns the
believe.
Avs, right?
Well, technically Stan owns the Avs, the Nuggets, and the Rams,
Yeah.
which is why technically is she eligible? Yes. Can she? Probably not, because the NFL is not going to allow one couple to own two teams.
That'd be
There's just
awesome,
too much
dude. Can you
liability.
imagine? You
It,
got two different teams.
it would be. I mean, be awesome for them.
Yeah.
And I mean,
I'm
I
not sure
do
how much
like.
I'd like it. They take our Broncos games off TV. Put them on
They
altitude.
might, yeah, but well, the NFL is a different monster.
Yeah.
You don't have. There's a reason why the NFL doesn't have local sports networks. It's why you don't have a Broncos network. Is because the national networks pay them so much money that they don't need it. Baseball, hockey, basketball, they need local sports networks
Yeah.
because honestly, national networks don't give a damn about anybody that's not on the coast.
Oh,
That's why the
definitely.
Denver Nuggets rarely get a national televised
Hey,
game.
how about that?
That's
How about that
why,
whooping they laid on the Lakers the other night?
and then turned around and got whooped by Utah last
That one
night. And
hurt.
it did. It hurt a lot. I honestly would have rather have seen them beat Utah than LA. I mean, it's always nice to see the Nuggets beat LA, especially in almost a 40-point fashion.
Yeah.
And to see Jokic show who the real MVP is yet again. People need to stop knocking my guy. That's one thing I'm going to say right now. Y'all leave my MVP alone. There is nothing that you
He's
can
got two
say
brothers
that
that will
can
kill you.
right. There's nothing you can say that will diminish this man's greatness. He just had his 68th triple double
God.
in less than 4 quarters against the Lakers. He didn't even play the fourth quarter, and the man still had a triple double.
How about Bones in that game?
I mean,
I know we're gonna
yeah,
talk. I just want to say, how about Bones? Yeah, everybody in
yes,
that game.
Bones, old man, Uncle Jeff, posterizing fools. All
Dude,
of a
that
sudden,
was
you got a found a youth. Like
beautiful.
this man is like going nuts. Like, did you see what Rudy Gay put up on
No.
Twitter? Well, okay, yeah, right before the game, like they, I forget who it was. Somebody tweeted out um, the most disrespected poster maker in the NFL introducing Uncle Jeff, and they had like a highlight video of him just posterizing people this season as a Nugget. And so Rudy Gay, because Uncle Jeff played in Utah for a little while, he said, "Don't try that shit tonight." I
Oh
was like,
man,
"That's
Jeff
good. That's
is.
good." Yes. I don't
They
know what
look
it is
like
with
they're
Uncle
turning
Jeff,
around.
man.
They're turning it around a bit.
Yeah. Uncle Jeff might be one of the most underrated players of the last decade. This man does nothing but produce every
Oh
single
yeah.
year, but he always ends up on another team the next year. It's like nobody wants to say, like, why is this man jumping around the league? Like, I've been watching him this year, and I don't understand how this man in 14 years has been on 11 different teams.
And he just meshes
Or
with that team beautifully.
every team that he goes
I
to,
bet you the Nuggets won't make that mistake. I bet you they'll give him like a 2-year, 1-year contract for next year.
Right, yeah. But I don't want to turn this into Nug Life. This is
That's not yet. That's a different show.
That's not yet, but we're getting there. We are getting there. So let's go ahead and let's move off ownership talk. Let's go ahead and let's talk head coaching search.
Oh,
We've
I
already
read
talked
this
about
rundown
owner
last
search.
night, or with this when you sent it to me.
Yes.
I don't know why. Can I bring us into this? Because this makes me mad.
Go for it.
That the reports are is Dan Quinn is the front runner for the job, head coach job in Denver, which is, I almost said a bad word, stupid, because the man hasn't interviewed yet. I haven't even seen him on the list yet. And the fact that he's front runner for the job pisses me off because that man did nothing but lose after he made the Super Bowl that 1 year. After he lost Kyle Shanahan, that man did nothing but lose.
Yep. My co-host is slacking here. He didn't let me know that y'all are busting up the chat. I do apologize. So I just want to
I don't have the chat open.
Oh, well, that's your fault. I'm just kidding. Thanks, Barry, for coming in. I appreciate you. You did have a question. Who do you think the serious contenders to buy the Broncos? I will go ahead and run this off real quick. Manning Group, Elway Group, Bezos, and Ballmer are my top four.
Those are my exact same.
Yep. And then Mrs. Bird Gang, as always, appreciate you. Appreciate y'all love. Appreciate y'all letting us be on the channel. Nika, as always, appreciate you. Much love. My guy James, again, appreciate you. Much love. Got another question. The Broncos need a fresh start with new ownership. I think the fans are over the Bolin children drama and then not just letting Brittany Bolin have what she has worked so hard for. 1,000% agree there.
They should have just sold the team after Pat Bolin passed away in 2019.
I mean, he really wanted it to be one. He wanted it to be a family legacy, like the Rooneys, like the Maras.
These kids are spoiled little shit.
That. Yeah, and he could have had it. He had a good child that went and did her due diligence. Unfortunately, all that she did was in vain. Unless, again, like somehow a miracle happens and her brothers and sisters are able to buy out the other ones, then it doesn't matter if they agree. If they're able to go out, bring up the capital, buy out the shares, then they don't have to agree. She can just literally buy the team from them. She becomes the majority owner, or her and a sister or brother or whatever all become part owners, and it stays in the
we both agree, right? Brittany's the best choice out of all of them.
Yeah,
most qualified,
without a doubt. I mean the qualifications. I mean the
alone gives her that job.
Yeah, that right there. She literally earned it. She's not like Bethany or the rest of them that are essentially just trying to get it because they got the Bolin name.
I don't remember which son it was, but at the Hall of Fame enshrinement when he just had a fat lip in up on the stage, spitting on the stage. Oh, that made me so mad.
So gross. Yes, I mean, yeah, John and all them, they can just go hide in a corner somewhere. But now we got those out the way. I'll go ahead and I will reiterate what you were saying. What Dylan was getting at is that Dan Quinn is the leading head coaching candidate according to just about every outlet in Denver. A lot of it has to do with the fact that Quinn and Peyton worked together in it was either Miami or Tampa. I can't remember exactly.
It was Miami.
Yes, Miami. There you go. And so they wanted to create a GM head coach super team there. And so they've been talking about this for a little bit over a decade, which kind of rankles me, and I see it also rankles my guy Dylan, is that he is, again, the front of the line. Do you see this as problematic?
I definitely see this as problematic. First off, the man's a DC, a good DC at that too. He's a great defensive coordinator. Head coach, not great at all. Sure, you gave him those two seasons where they made the playoffs, the Super Bowl, the 28-3 Super Bowl, which is embarrassing. He should have retired after that. And then the next year they make it back to the playoffs, obviously. But then it's like, I don't want to see that. Like, I don't want that. I don't want to see Dan Quinn here and keep losing going. I want to see, like we've always talked about, a fresh offensive mind. Fresh offensive mind. Such as Hackett, Bieniemy. I wouldn't mind Bieniemy again, even though he's not my first choice. Daboll hasn't even been interviewed. I don't think he's on the list.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't mind.
Daboll, I don't believe so. I'll double check.
I would love to see more on that list as well from Dallas.
I believe he is actually. Kellen Moore is.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
Kellen Moore is. But unless Daboll is not.
Yeah. Okay. I got Hackett on there and Moore, so I'm good. But looking at that, it's like if Moore does get interviewed, and if from what I've seen is true, if Jerry ends up firing why did I just forget his name?
Mike
Why
McCarthy,
Mike
he came out
McCarthy.
today and said he was not. It was not on the table. He said that this morning.
Okay, I was gonna say because if he did end up saying he was going to fire him, Moore might take that job in Dallas. Right. But now I think my two favorite frontrunners are Hackett and Moore up on that list.
Those are pretty good.
Or what's the quarterback passing coordinator coach from Green Bay that also interviewed?
Oh yeah, that kid. What is it? I forget his.
Start with a G, I think. Getsy.
Yeah, Luke Getsy. Yeah, we'll go ahead and I'll run down the list here real quick so everybody.
Dude, wait, real quick though, did you see that Hackett said he wanted to do stepbrother interview style with Getsy for his Broncos interview?
Oh goodness, yes! Oh my god!
In the tuxedos.
Yes.
We're here to get up.
Nathaniel Hackett would be the most entertaining head coach hire of the cycle. All the rest seem kind of stuffy, but Nathaniel Hackett looks like a good damn time.
And imagine he brings in Hackett. Guess who? He could bring in Getsy as an offensive coordinator.
He could. And he could also bring Aaron Rodgers with him because Aaron Rodgers loves Getsy and he loves Hackett.
Yeah.
But again, this list real quick. These are the confirmed and or reported candidates that are going to or have already interviewed for the head coaching position. Number one on the list is Eric Bieniemy, the offensive coordinator for Kansas City Chiefs. He has some history in Colorado. He actually is the all-time leading rusher for the Colorado Buffaloes.
Which is amazing.
Yeah. And then we have Brian Callahan, the offensive coordinator for the Cincinnati Bengals and the number one offense in the league with probably the best young quarterback we have seen come out since Andrew Luck.
I forgot. I love that offense that this Bengals team this year, and he would be a great fit over here.
I do believe that he has. Now he does not call the plays. I don't believe in Cincinnati. It does go for his coach. His head coach calls the plays.
Yeah, but he's the one that draws up those schemes. He's able to find these schemes during the week. He breaks down the defense with his team.
Yeah. A misnomer a lot of people have when an offensive coordinator doesn't call plays is kind of asinine to me because honestly, most successful head coaches don't call plays.
Nope.
On either side of the ball. They get the best person that they know, install them in the offensive or defensive coordinator position, and let them do their job.
There's the few.
To me, I don't see a problem. Plus, the misnomer is that they don't have anything to do with the game planning, which is absolutely asinine as well.
Yeah.
Like you said, they're there all week. They're helping the coach game plan. They're creating plays that go in the playbook just as much as the head coach does. And they're right there listening to the coach as he's calling the plays, learning things. And every once in a while, coach's headset might go out. They get to call the plays, things of that nature. So,
and there's those, like you were saying, there's like head coaches, most successful coaches don't call plays, right? There's those little few, like a Shanahan, a Belichick,
Andy Reid.
Reid.
Belichick doesn't call plays.
Oh, that's right. He doesn't. No, yep. Yeah, like, and Mike Holmgren.
Sean McVay.
Sean McVay.
Yeah. It's very, very few, and it's those guys that are labeled as a genius. Like we said,
and they are the ones that create those successful coaching trees.
Exactly. And they're a lot of those coaches, because of those tropes, have allowed their offensive coordinators to either partially call plays or just take over. Like Eric Bieniemy, he's essentially taken over play calling duties in Kansas City. I mean, yes, Andy Reid always has final say, but Bieniemy's the guy with the headset calling in the plays. And then next up, we have Jonathan Gannon, defensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles. This is probably my least favorite on the list.
For me, Quinn's my least favorite, but this is up there.
I honestly would rather have Quinn than Gannon. At least Quinn has a proven track record. He's been to the Super Bowl. He's created Super Bowl winning defenses. So he's got a track record I'd be happier with. Jonathan Gannon, he's young and really hasn't proven anything. I mean, he was a defensive backs coach in Indianapolis from 18 to 20, assistant defensive backs coach in Minnesota from 14 to 17, and he's been the defensive coordinator for the Eagles for the last 2 years. and neither year has that defense really been that good. I have not
Yeah.
seen the type of growth that I would like from year one to year two. Is the defense actually stepped back this year in Philadelphia from last year, and they had a worse team last year. So I don't like Gannon at all. But next up, again, Luke Getsy, the quarterbacks coach and passing game coordinator for the Green Bay Packers from 2020 to present. You spoke at length on him. Um, the one of the candidates that has actually already interviewed is Aaron Glenn. He is the defensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions. Again, another one of those guys that seems a little out of place. The Detroit Lions have been absolutely abysmal.
But
so
I do like Aaron Glenn though as a man and a coach as well, because the man, no matter how bad they were doing, is trying his hardest, right? And
right.
he's not a bad defensive coordinator. If
No,
you're on a bad
it,
team like that, you're just gonna get that rep.
and he's got the bonus of being a former player, a former
Yeah.
very good player. He is a three-time Pro Bowl cornerback, played 15 years in the NFL with the Jets, Texans, and Cowboys, Jaguars, and Saints. So he definitely knows how to handle professional athletes. He knows how to talk to professional athletes. He knows what it's like to be cut, to be traded. So he'd probably be like a player's coach, which is probably what endeared the Broncos to him and wanted to give him a shot, see what he said. And from all accounts, it seems like he had a good interview. But him, I would say, he's a dark horse candidate. And he kind of feels like a Rooney Rule interview. Like, I don't want to be a jerk about it and say, like, he's not qualified. I don't want to imply that. But
Yeah.
he was the first interview that the Broncos did. And it was the shortest interview, and so now that they've done that interview, they can literally hire whoever at any point. They've done their minimal duty. They interviewed one minority coach, and they still have Eric Bieniemy that they'll interview once or if the Chiefs get booted from the playoffs.
Hopefully
Um,
this week, next week.
it would be great. Also, I mean, there's a chance that they don't, and the Broncos end up hiring a guy before they ever get to even interview Eric Bieniemy.
I
Excuse me.
wouldn't hate
Um,
an Eric Bieniemy, right? I think my number one choice is Nathaniel Hackett, personally, right
I like
now.
Nathaniel. Uh, I wouldn't say he's my favorite, but I do like Nathaniel. I wouldn't be mad. I'm still a bit hesitant of giving a third straight person their first head coaching opportunity. It's a little scary.
I
I know
wanted
that's
to see
probably the
Brian
most
Flores on that
likely case.
list.
Thank you.
That's my
Yes, I was.
out of that list, Hackett's my favorite.
Yeah,
But if I could
I
choose
would.
who I wanted, I want a Brian Flores on my team.
Yes,
Bring the Sean
Brian
with you.
Flores or Doug Peterson. Why are neither of those guys on this list? You're
And
casting
like
a
we
wide
discussed that,
net.
we talked about that off show. Neither of us would hate a Doug Peterson.
No, not at
I mean,
all.
the man
I
has a
wouldn't.
statue for
Especially
God's sake in Philly.
exactly. He's got a Super Bowl ring. Really,
Nope, not
Carson Wentz
again.
cost him his job.
1 second.
What happened?
Cam went out again.
Oh,
It's
breaking
in the
cam.
wrong. I plug it into the wrong slot every time.
Vum.ingo. I don't know what that is, but sure. Appreciate you. Whatever. That
That's
is.
a good comment.
Yeah, right. I don't know what that is. But anyways, I'll finish going down the list here while you fix that. Um, and we'll do this. That way, people ain't got to see that. But next on, Nathaniel Hackett went into detail on him. We'll go very much farther. Another interesting candidate for me is Gerard Mayo. Um, he would be a extreme reach to me
Oh yeah,
because he's only been in coaching since he retired in 2019.
and that
Um,
was the same job Brian Flores had. He replaced Brian Flores.
yes, the inside linebackers coach. Well, Brian Flores had actually just been promoted to defensive coordinator and
That's
then
right.
moved over. So he spent 1 year in New England and had that was the year that Stephon Gilmore won the Defensive Player of the Year
And he turned
as a
around
cornerback.
that Dolphins
Exactly.
team.
Yes, he really did.
Give
The
me a Brian
best move of
Flores
the
and
offseason.
bring Deshaun with you.
That's the thing, and we'll get to that in just a moment. I do want to talk about that. But Gerard Mayo, he was a very good inside linebacker. He's an old school inside
There we go.
linebacker. The Mike Singletary's. Let's get you back in here, then, my guy. Boom. Things of that nature. So I really think he would bring an old school tough mentality, the way of like a Wade Phillips. Because if nobody else has noticed, and this is something I've always liked to point it out, is that the best teams, when they tackle you with an attitude. Like they looking to clean your entire soul from your body.
Like that,
And
especially during that
2015
Bengals
Broncos.
Raiders game, that hit that Bengals defender laid down on, who was it? It was one of the receivers. I forgot which one it was.
Was it Renfro?
It might have been Hunter Renfro, but he just laid him out, like hit-sticked him hard.
That one. Yeah, yeah. But and Gerard Mayo was that guy for the New England Patriots in the middle of that defense. He was that middle linebacker that was going to thump you. He wasn't going to run with your running back down the field. He wasn't going to chase him to the sidelines. He was going to stand in the middle of that defense. Anything that came over the middle, he was going to destroy.
He's meeting you at the line of scrimmage.
Yes, he had heavy hands. I mean, I loved the way that Gerard Mayo played. So if he could bring that attitude to the coaching staff and bring that culture, I wouldn't be too mad. But again, he's only been coaching since 2019.
I think he was the main guy for the Dolphins, if I'm not wrong. I think the Dolphins and the Texans were the two main teams that want to get him.
Which is interesting to me is that if they, like, especially the Dolphins, like the Texans make some sense. They just have a pipeline from New England to there.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody from New England they'll grab. But Miami would be so interesting to fire Brian Flores and then hire Gerard Mayo. I mean, I guess that would kind of negate the talk about the racism that was potentially there. I'm not one of the camp that believes that he was fired because he was black. From all reports, it looks like Brian Flores was fired because he wanted to get rid of Tua and bring in Deshaun, and the owner and GM want to keep Tua, and so they couldn't come to an agreement, so they parted ways. Again, this is just from reports I've read, things I've seen. Could there be
thank you, Miami.
there? Right? Exactly. I mean, you're just giving some other team an absolutely great coach. I see Brian Flores to potentially do what Mike Tomlin has done in Seattle if given the opportunity. He's a guy that can come in and just win.
Seattle.
No who's on the team, who's on the roster, he just wins games.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there is no way you can look at that Miami roster and say that he should have won as many games as he did and to beat the Patriots continuously.
Yeah, and when there was one report that just made me laugh. It was so funny that apparently after he got fired, when he was telling the team, he told Tua afterwards, he said he should have drafted Mac Jones this past draft.
And that's another thing about Brian is like people have talked about how he's difficult to work with. He's got a bit of an ego.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, what great coach or player doesn't? You tell me that Bill Belichick doesn't have a giant ego, especially after the way he ended the game in Buffalo. Like, I mean, yeah, it was cold and whatever. People are giving him that excuse, but it seemed kind of iffy to me the way that he just kind of blew off Sean McDermott there at the end of that game. So again,
he like blows off most coaches. Mike Shanahan had an ego, and that was what we loved him about. That's why I loved him.
Yes, uber ego. So yeah, I mean, name a coach, name a player that's great. That
it's like Mike Shanahan said after he watched Atlanta beat the Vikings in the NFC Championship, then even started their game yet. He's like, I already knew we won the Super Bowl.
Right, exactly. But back on down the list, we're almost done here. Kellen Moore, we talked about earlier, offensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys. It is quite possible that Dallas could lose both of their coordinators and be stuck with Mike McCarthy. How about that? Then you have Kevin O'Connell, who is the offensive coordinator for the Los Angeles Rams. He's another one of those guys that he's young. He's part of the McVay coaching tree. People are always ever since McVay, they've been looking for the next McVay. It was supposed to be McDaniels that started this whole thing, but his debacle in Denver subsided that. But McVay going in and having the success he had in LA has really created this copycat league to try and copycat everybody else. Go get yourself the next young genius offensive talent,
And Kellen
and
Moore
let
would
them
be
come in
great.
and do
I
their thing.
wouldn't hate it.
Yeah,
The man ran
Kellen Moore's
the number,
possible.
I think the number 2 offense in the league. I think Dallas was towards the end of the season.
Yep.
They were
Yeah,
the number 1 offense for most of the season until Cincinnati just ran with it.
Went insane. Same thing with the LA Rams and Kevin O'Connell. Both, and this is what's funny is like there's a couple of ex quarterbacks. You have Kellen Moore, who was a quarterback in the league. Kevin O'Connell, same thing. You know, so there seems to be a theme of quarterbacks becoming offensive coaches and linebackers and defensive backs becoming defensive coaches and then taking over everything. And then
I'm waiting for the day when a middle linebacker becomes an offensive coordinator.
That I wouldn't be too surprised, honestly. Yeah. I'm honestly surprised it doesn't happen more often. Because it's like when John Elway took over the job as a GM and everybody assumed that he was going to be able to find the next great quarterback. And the first words out of his mouth are, I'm a horrible quarterback evaluator. Because my entire career was spent watching defensive ends, defensive tackles, outside linebackers, and cornerbacks.
And that's why he's able to find those gems on defense.
Exactly.
That were that majority of his picks.
He's strongest at.
Yeah, majority of his best rated picks are defensive players.
Exactly, and it's pass rushers and defensive backs specifically when it comes to him finding.
That's the ones he had to study the most.
Exactly, because that's what he spent hours upon hours and hours of watching film.
Because if he didn't, they were going to kill him. It was the 80s.
Exactly. He had to know. He had to know what was their moves. How quickly did they usually get to the quarterback? How much time would he typically have to get the ball out? These are the things he's looking for. And so when on tape he saw the difference between a good defensive end and a great defensive end, such as Reggie White, who he played against, oh man, how am I forgetting the man's name in Buffalo? The one that has the all-time, he's the all-time sack leader. Why is his name?
I know who you're talking about, but I don't know his name either.
I feel so bad, my guy. I love you, and I'm sorry if you ever see this and I forgot your name. But I seriously cannot remember his name.
Let's look it up.
For the life of me. I want to say it's like Bruce something.
Let's see.
Oh my gosh. Why do I?
Bruce Smith.
Holy cow! How did I forget that name?
171. So the next closest is 78 in Aaron Schobel.
Yes, in the Buffalo Bills career sack record. Yeah, I'm sorry. He was the all-time leader. The all-time leader has over 200. But yeah, either way, Bruce Smith.
And his stat. I'm looking at his stats right now. They're insane.
They are absolutely insane. There's a reason that man is a Hall of Famer. Man, I still feel bad that I forgot his name. I can't believe I forgot his name.
Yeah, because he was on those 4 Super Bowl teams.
Yep, he sure was. He was part of those defenses that helped take him to those 4 straight Super Bowls.
And then lose 2 straight to Dallas, 1 to New York, and also 1 to Washington.
Yep. Last one on the list here is Dan Quinn again, defensive coordinator of the Cowboys. He is the most likely Cowboy to be gone because all the head coaching vacancies that are out there, there's 8 currently, and there's a lot of interest in Quinn. So, and the funny thing is that the Cowboys can't do what they did to Jason Garrett.
Yeah,
they can't give him a raise because Dan Quinn's still getting paid by the Atlanta Falcons until the end of next year. So they can't give him a raise.
Nice check.
Yeah, they can't give him more money. So Quinn is out the door. There's a chance they might be able to keep Kellen Moore. They're probably hoping that he's a horrible interview because I don't know how Dallas is going to rebound if they lose both of their coordinators cycle. They just got bounced one and done with these 2 guys. If they're both gone, yeesh, I don't know. It's going to get ugly in Dallas. I feel sorry for
we not them boys.
So Out of these confirmed candidates, let's go ahead and put it down. Who is your favorite, and who is most likely to be hired?
All right. Out of this group here, I've already said Hackett's my definite favorite. But if I'm going to think who's going to get hired, is I need to open the list. I just forgot his name.
Getsy?
No, I don't think it's Nathaniel Hackett's my definite favorite. But I bet you out of all of them, it will be and Eric Bieniemy would be the hire if they end up getting an interview.
I like it. I can't really argue that at all. Um, to me, the most likely is the one that's been reported the most.
Dan Quinn.
When you put all the links together, when you put in the fact that they worked together before, the fact that he's going to get an interview before Eric Bieniemy, pretty much the same time as Kellen Moore, uh, I think he is the most likely. But again, I like the fact that they're casting a wide net. My personal favorite is going to be out of this list, Eric Bieniemy. I just think it's time for him to get a chance. Everybody wants to say that he's a horrible interview, that he's got some baggage. Whatever. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Give the man a chance. I think he's earned it at this point. I mean, there's not really anything much more he can do to prove himself in Kansas City. He's called plays. He's taken over game plans. Andy Reid's done literally everything he can to prepare this man to be a head coach.
So, and I'm checking here on all the reporters' pages on Twitter. I haven't seen a Dan Quinn interview yet or a request.
There has not been an interview, but I did find a request. Let me see if I can find it again here. They had requested both Quinn and Moore right before this weekend.
Yeah, I'm going through Schefter right now.
Sorry, guys. I'm just trying to make sure you get the most accurate information possible. Oh, now we got annoying little videos playing.
And it's like it's not that I don't. It's not that I don't want Dan Quinn. If he was the best option, I would definitely take him. But I don't think he's the best option out there.
I don't either.
Sure, and I don't know what Peyton has in mind. I don't know what Peyton has seen with him. I don't know how they've worked together, what their relationship was. That's when, if they hire him, that's when I lay my trust into George Payton. But I just don't want a third straight defensive coordinator as a head coach.
Right, I would. That's my thing too. That's why I didn't like Aaron Glenn or Jonathan Gannon. That just, especially giving these guys their first shot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's one thing. Like, that's why I don't mind a Brian Flores.
Yeah.
Yes, he's a defensive mind, but he's proven that he can win in this league. It's a different thing. Just like I don't really like Gerard Mayo. I don't want a 35-year-old that's only been out of the league for 3 years and just coached linebackers. Like, yes, he's obviously got leadership qualities in the locker room as a player, but that doesn't always translate to being a head coach. So I don't now if you're interviewing him to see if he's a potential defensive coordinator candidate, or whoever you hire, I'm cool with that. But as a head coach, no. And that's another thing is, like, so a lot of people got to realize some of these interviews, they're not really interviewing them for the head coach position. They're interviewing them as potential candidates for coordinator positions for whoever they hire.
And that's what I would like to see. Maybe take a Hackett for example, to hire him as a head coach. Who cares? I wouldn't mind if you brought in a Dan Quinn as a defensive coordinator.
Right. More than likely, that's not going to happen.
Oh,
Because
definitely
Dan
not
Quinn
going to happen.
is under contract in
Yeah.
Dallas. Now Dan Quinn was a free agent. That's a definite possibility. Now, if you're talking about Nathaniel Hackett bringing Luke Getsy in as offensive coordinator, that can happen because that would be a promotion from his quarterbacks coach. Now,
Mm-hmm.
that would also have to go with along the lines they would have to request permission, and the Packers would have to grant it in the same way that Rick Scangarello came to Denver as an offensive coordinator. He was a quarterbacks coach in San Francisco. Broncos wanted him as a coordinator because it was a promotion. They allowed them to interview him, and they hired him as the offensive coordinator.
Yeah,
So
and say
something like
Hackett
that
does
could
get
happen.
hired,
Yeah,
and he brings over Getsy, and they allow it. Who's to say that wouldn't bring over an A-Rod or a Devontae Adams?
exactly, or both. Who
Yeah,
knows?
or both.
Because Devontae Adams is, I
He's free
believe, a
agent
free
this
agent.
year. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, technically they could put the franchise tag on him, but he's made it clear that he will not sign a franchise tag. So there's that. It's a very convoluted situation. But again, I am beginning to believe that the fantasy wonderland that everybody thought this offseason was going to be with veterans changing teams, I don't think it's going to be as exciting
No.
as some people believe it's going to be. Uh, we're going to get into that a little bit here later, but like I'm not 100% certain that Aaron Rodgers is going anywhere anymore, especially after the whole vaccine debacle and the way that his ignorant Green Bay fan base supported him the way that they did.
And
I think that's going to go a long way.
unless
You
he
know.
decides, because I know he's not a big fan of LaFleur.
there's as far as what I've seen, it's not LaFleur that's the problem. It's Gutekunst, the GM. That's
Okay.
who he's always singled out. And over the summer, he's also said he's like, my problem isn't with LaFleur. It's with being left out of the loop in some of these decisions, like when they went and drafted Jordan Love. Like those were the things that drove him nuts. It wasn't so much the offense. Like they did butt heads at first because Aaron Rodgers was set in his ways, and LaFleur wanted to do things his ways because he is the boss. Doesn't matter that he's either the I can't remember. Is he the same age or is he younger
I think he's
than
younger
Aaron
than Aaron
Rodgers?
Rodgers.
Yeah. So you had that whole dynamic of the veteran Hall of Fame quarterback trying to throw his weight around, and LaFleur's like, "No, I'm the boss." And so they had that little bit of a tough, but I think they've kind of gotten past that. It's really mainly been about Gutekunst. But
And it's unless,
he
because I know he
definitely,
loves Getsy and he loves Hackett. Say
yes,
Getsy gets hired, I bet you Aaron Rodgers would leave. Say Hackett left, I bet you there's a better
possible.
chance he would leave. Say
It's
both
definitely
leave, I bet you
possible.
he's like, by the two guys he loves the most on that team are gone. I might as well follow them. But it's
Yeah,
what ifs at this point. We don't know what's going on.
right. Yeah, but lately, Rogers has kind of been praising Gutekunst. Like he's talked about how he's kept him in the loop more. This is why I say I'm not nearly as sold as a lot of other people are on people like Aaron Rodgers going
Mm-hmm.
now. Russell Wilson may be a different
That's
story.
more of a
Deshaun
chance.
Watson, yeah, Deshaun Watson, I think is gone out of Houston. I don't see any way, shape, or form that he stays. If he
There's no
can get
way he
his legal
stays.
situation handled, he's gone. So that's one name that's going to move. There was talk about Tua before Brian Flores got fired, but now he's off of the market. Um, uh,
But like,
Baker
say
Mayfield. I don't
if
know why I couldn't think of his name, but
Baker,
Baker
I wouldn't
Mayfield
hate a
might be
Baker.
on.
The reason
I
that
wouldn't
man
hate
played
it.
bad this year is he was injured.
Injured, and the offensive line was and they were just destroyed by COVID and injuries overall. That
Oh,
poor man
definitely.
really didn't have much of a chance. And then the whole Odell Beckham Jr. debacle, and I mean, you just go down the
And now
line.
the
It was
Jarvis
just
Landry
bad.
debacle.
Oh god, yeah, everything's just falling apart in Cleveland. Those poor fans, they really thought they had their guy, like Cincinnati found their guy, and they're just getting kicked in the gonads right now.
Yeah.
Um,
But this year it's
but
like one of those, when I look at the offseason, I just think it's if I just hope now, the only thing I can hope for is the Broncos do an interview with Brian Flores. He is my number one
I hope
pick
so
out of
too.
every coach out there that is looking to
I
be
would agree.
hired. But he's
I would
not on
agree. I
that
would
list yet.
honestly, yeah, and especially with the reports that, and this is a big reason why I would love to see Brian Flores on the list is that all reports are that Brian Flores and Deshaun Watson have been talking the
Oh yeah,
entirety of the offseason and that they are trying to coordinate
to
a
go to the same
situation
team.
where they end up on the same team. Exactly. So I would not be mad at that at all. If that's true and they end up hiring Brian Flores, getting Deshaun Watson,
Trade
bro,
trade the
see,
house. If you
off
can get Deshaun
season
Watson,
complete.
if you have
Yeah,
Brian Flores and you can get Deshaun Watson, trade the house. I don't care. We have
off
plenty of
season. Yeah,
picks.
off season complete. If those two things happen, that's it. Just those two things happen. I'll give Peyton an A for the off season. He doesn't have to do anything else. If he's able
And I
to
don't give
secure
a I
Brian
don't give a shit
Flores
about the
and
ownership
Deshaun
anymore
Watson,
if you get those two.
yeah, yeah, who cares? Let
Yeah.
whoever come in because we're winning ball games, baby.
Yeah.
I mean, again, think about what Brian Flores did with that pathetic roster in Miami, and then give him the roster the Broncos have plus Deshaun
Shoot.
Watson. What else do you need?
Dude, if we get Bezos, dude, Amazon Stadium, have Amazon workers working the concessions, dude.
That's another thing that fans need to keep in mind is that unless somebody like a Jeff Bezos buys this team, there is not going to be a new stadium.
No.
That's not going to happen because nobody wants to pay for it. Number one, most owners that get these new stadiums, like the new stadium in LA, took two billionaire owners paying for it themselves. The
Yep.
stadium in Dallas took an owner paying for 80% of it.
No, that was nothing for
Okay,
Jerry.
right. I mean, it was nothing for him, but
Yeah.
unless the Broncos get an owner like that
But where'd
that
you
has
put it?
those types of pockets, whoa, what is that? Okay, interesting. Sorry about that, guys. I don't know where that came from. But let's go ahead and move on. Actually,
I mean, where
let's
would
go
you
to.
real quick? Where would you put the stadium though? You just put it right
It would
over
have
where
to
Old
be
Mile
out by
High was,
DIA.
and just put the parking lot by Sports Authority.
Now, if you want to do like what they did in Foxborough or what they did in Dallas or LA, where they created essentially an entire shopping area around it, so that you
Yeah.
can three keep in revenue coming in 365 days a year, it would have to be out by like DIA, somewhere out there in the middle of
There's
nowhere,
plenty
essentially.
of room
That
out in DIA.
exactly.
Or
So
even
they
out
would
in
have
those
the
fields out past Brighton, like right next to Brighton, in between Brighton and Denver. There's plenty of spots out
yeah,
there, out by the shopping
yeah.
center.
I mean, they'd have to buy up a lot of land, a lot of expensive land. Because also remember, this is Colorado. Land's expensive. So unless you have an owner with pockets like a Jeff Bezos, there's not going to be a new stadium with a retractable roof to attract a Super Bowl. Just not going to happen, people. Even with a Bezos or something like that, the stadium that is in Denver right now is not that old. I understand that some of you might be
2001. It's
envious.
21. It'll be
Right,
21 years old this year.
right. I know that y'all might be envious of the LA Rams and LA Chargers or the
Cares.
stadium in Foxborough. Get over yourself and stop being so vain.
Got one of the
The
best
Power Field at
stadiums
Mile
in the
High,
league.
it's beautiful. It's a beautiful stadium in a beautiful state with beautiful views in every direction.
I've been there
Who
plenty of
cares
times.
if we ever get a Super Bowl? The Super
Yeah.
Bowl costs the city money. I know y'all think that it's going to make people money. The only people that make money on the Super Bowl are already rich people.
And you'll
It
lose more
doesn't
money
trickle
than you
down.
make. You'll lose more money
Exactly.
than you make with the people coming in.
And oh, exactly. You're going because you got to think the taxpayer money pays for all those cops, all those firefighters, all those ambulances that are out there patrolling and making sure everybody's safe and doing things that they're supposed to be doing. So who
I mean,
cares if the
a
Broncos ever
Super
get a
Bowl in
Super Bowl?
Denver
I don't.
and maybe the next 10 years would be more likely with how warm it's getting around this time of the year.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, no joke. And honestly, what's funny is out of the last, I think like 10 Super Bowls, the Broncos have had a higher temperature, or sorry, Denver has had a higher temperature than the place that the Super Bowl is actually
Yeah.
at. Like
And the
in
only
Dallas,
time it was cold for a
snowed.
Super Bowl in an outdoor stadium was MetLife. They got
Yes, MetLife
lucky that
Stadium.
two cold state teams made it to the Super Bowl. Imagine if it was San Francisco beat the Seahawks in the NFC Championship game.
Yep, exactly. I mean, and the only reason that that happened is because it's New York.
Yeah,
That's literally the headquarters of the NFL. So
technically New
yeah,
Jersey, where the
they're going
stadium
to be.
sits.
Oh yeah, but all
Even
the
more sad.
activities were across
Yeah.
the bridge. Yeah, I
Oh
know.
yeah.
It's funny. We always call them New York, but they're actually New Jersey because nobody
The
wants to
Joyzy
say New
Giants.
Jersey, the Joyzy Giants.
The
But
Joyzy Jets.
moving on, the Pro Football Focus graded the top 25 rookies of the 2021 season, and two Broncos made the list. I'm sure you all can guess who those Broncos were. The first one on the
Browning and
list was
Cooper.
Javonte Williams. Right? No, Javonte Williams was at 25,
That's a
and
little
Pat
high.
Surtain was at 16.
That's too damn high.
So, too damn high. So, do you believe that these guys were ranked properly, or do you believe that Javonte Williams or Pat Surtain should have been put higher or lower on this list?
Higher. Javonte should not be 25 out of 25. I would give Javonte in between 20 and 15.
What the?
Somewhere in between number 20 and number 15. Pat Surtain, I put top 10. He's up for defensive rookie of the year, for God's sake, and you have him at 16.
Okay, so looking at this list, you got him at 16. I will let y'all know who is above him. You said you wanted to put. I'm sorry, you wanted to put him where?
I would put him in top 10 at least.
Top 10. So the people above Patrick Surtain between 16 and 10 are Pat Fryermuth, the tight end for the Steelers, safety Trayvon Moehrig of the Las Vegas Raiders, Jeremiah Owusu Koromoa of the Cleveland Browns, Nate Hobbs, cornerback of the Raiders, and wide receiver Amun Ra St. Brown. Which again, to speak of the St. Brown, you got Equanimous, Amun Ra, and Osiris with their dad named John.
I
How
would take
anticlimactic is that?
Yeah, I would even take out Jalen Waddle or even the Devontae Smith for Pat Surtain.
Jalen Waddle did set the record for
That is
the
true.
most catches by a rookie. Now, I would definitely put him above Fryermuth, Moehrig, Owusu Koromoa, Hobbs, St. Brown, and Devonta Smith.
I would put Pat Surtain at 10. At least give him a top 10 because that man was unbelievable this season.
I'd say I'd put him at 9. I think I would put him above above Penei Sewell, who did have a really good year as a tackle for the Lions. Looks like a really good guy, but I think I agree. I believe Surtain.
Oh, and I definitely agree with number 1 on that list.
Yeah, number 1 on the list for all of you that can't see is Micah Parsons, the guy that both of us would have actually, if we were the GMs, we would have picked Micah Parsons over Pat Surtain. And I love Pat Surtain.
We stand for Surtain here.
For him. We stand for Surtain. Okay?
Micah Parsons is something else, man.
But Micah Parsons is on a whole other. I honestly believe that Micah Parsons might have been the difference the Broncos needed on this defense to keep them in these games, like the Cleveland game,
especially both those Chiefs games.
Yes, and both those Chiefs games, because he would have been able to just absolutely shut down Travis Kelce in the middle of that defense. And then Jamar Chase, I'm not mad at. I mean, honestly, I don't see how you can really argue him being number 2. He had an absolutely insane rookie season,
especially after everybody dragged on him in the preseason.
Right. And then Creed Humphrey, I'm not mad. I'm not mad in the O lineman making the top 3.
Me neither.
And I mean,
that's what you're supposed to do.
Snapping to Patrick Mahomes and was essentially perfect. and like a 92.5 run block grade. And I mean, just really good. Rashawn Slater of the Los Angeles Chargers, not mad at him at number 4. Kyle Pitts, I think I might have actually put Waddle above Pitts, uh, especially with
Yeah.
his beginning of the season, but still not too mad. Javon Holland was a little bit of a surprise to me, but after looking at his stats, I'm not too mad at 6. And then Mac Jones at 7 went to the playoffs, not mad. And then Jalen Waddle. So yeah, I think I would slide Pat Sertan right behind Waddle, right in front of Penei Sewell. I think that's a good top 10.
Penei Sewell did
And
play
then
great this
Javante,
season too. I will not underestimate that man
most
ever.
definitely.
Oh,
My
I did not
problem here.
realize what time it was. I'm gonna have to head out. I didn't realize how late we were running.
Oh, we are at an hour and 20 minutes. No, that's cool. But real quick, Javante Williams, 25. I probably put him at 16 where Sertan is.
Yeah, I'd say
And then
16, 15.
yeah, 16, 15. So there's ours there. We will go ahead and let Dylan go deal with this thing, and I'll go ahead and wrap things
And
up
I want to
here.
say on the last topic, take it or leave it. That's a take it or leave it for me.
Take it or leave it. Take
I'll
it or
let you
leave it. All right.
explain.
So I will explain. I will explain going forward. My guy, appreciate you coming on. Enjoy the rest of your evening, my man. We will talk
Oh yeah,
later.
deuces.
Yes. All right. So real quick, last topic. What he was talking about. Russell Wilson has stated he wants to explore the options after his agent came out and released a list of 4 teams that he would waive his no trade clause for. Well, you guessed it, Broncos are one of those teams. So, does it mean anything, or is it a nothing burger? Well, as you heard my guy Dylan here said, take it or leave it. I believe that this means something. The fact that he had a horrible year. There was never a report that ever said Russell Wilson was getting happy or was made happy by anybody in the Seahawks organization. So, with him still having the same tone, the same remarks, I believe that Russell Wilson is probably the second most likely veteran to be traded this offseason behind Deshaun Watson. So, this should be good for Broncos country. You have multiple options instead of just one to better this team at the most important position in sports, the quarterback position. So, if this is a possibility, it must be explored. And I have every faith that George Payton will explore this avenue as he has been in, as he said he would, on every move. So, just wanted to give you all that bit of a tidbit that there is hope, even though the fantasy land of multiple veteran quarterbacks moving in the offseason is probably not going to happen. Looks like at least a couple will. So we should still have fun scouring the waiver wire and trying to find every little bit of tidbit we can on any potential trades in the Broncos offseason. So, in short, as always, I am your host, Daniel Wetstein. Y'all saw my co host, Dylan Miles. We are Breaking Broncos on the Answers 42 Media Network, on Bird Gang Sports Media Network. As always, we love y'all. We appreciate you. Please always remember like, subscribe, share, all of those great things. They cost you nothing, but are absolutely priceless to us. So please help support the dream. Go check out the merch shop for Bird Gang. Go check out the Tay 42 swag shop. We got some new stuff up. We got winter gear. We got masks. We got just about anything you want. And we can make anything you want. So just because you don't see something in the swag shop doesn't mean we can't make it. Send a message, send a DM, hit us up on the social feeds, whatever the case may be. Let us know what you're interested in. We can get it for you. I promise. So again, as always, I'm Dan Wetstein. This is the Answers 42 Media Network. This is the Breaking Broncos. Don't question the blue.